thank you guys for coming today. I'm Chasity Craft. I'm a literacy consultant for KVEC, and I just want to talk to you a little bit about SDI, what it looks like in reading, and we'll do some background on traditional SDI and then also what it would look like virtually. So we'll just kind of go through all that. Okay, so first, if you don't care, just use the QR code and sign in. And if you have any trouble, just let me know. We'll get you signed in another way, but just hold your camera up and do that. And these are just some housekeeping norms that I'm sure you're all very aware of at this point because everybody's done so many of these meetings so far. Okay, so this is just a little agenda of what we're going to be talking about. We're going to go over the overview of what specially designed instruction is, or SDI, what SDI looks like in a traditional setting, and then examples of SDI in a virtual setting. So the definition for SDI is the means of adapting as appropriate the content, methodology, or the delivery of instruction to address the needs, the unique needs of the child with the disability, and to ensure access of the child to the general curriculum included in the program of studies. So basically, it's what you as a teacher would do through your instructional practices to help that kid get the concepts of the general curriculum. And you would have to adapt it and change it as appropriate for that kid. So it's what you do. Sometimes people get confused between SDI and what we call supplement SAS, which is supplementary aids and services. So there's a little bit of difference in that. I wanted to kind of point that out just because so many do get that confused, and it's easily to be confused with that. So like I said, it's what the teacher does instructionally. Your SDI, what it is not, is your materials, manipulatives, or the devices that the kids use to have access to the curriculum. Those are the supplementary aids and services, which we're not going to go into today, but that's what that is. So for example, if you gave a kid a graphic organizer to use, that graphic organizer is your supplementary aids and service. And if the instruction that you would give to that kid on how to use the graphic organizer would be your specially designed instruction, because just handing them that graphic organizer, they wouldn't know what to do with it. So you teaching them how to use it would be your SDI. Okay. And if you all have, at any point, if y'all have any questions or anything, just stop me, chime in, let me know. I'll be happy to answer any questions. So some essential elements for students with disabilities, just couple things to think about is, as a special ed teacher, like I said, you adapt the content for your kids, plural, to make sure that they can get the concepts at that general curriculum at the grade level to the best of their ability. And because of that, you want to make sure it's individualized for each student, give them what they need to have that access. And also, when you're doing these things, you want to consider your parameters that you have with your family, the developmental level of the student, the availability of the technology that they have at their home right now, and also your ability to communicate with that family what they would need to assist the student at home for the instruction. And the big one right now, because kids are out of their routine and things like that, so the SDI should just be consistent. What you were doing before you went home, try to the best that you can do the same type of an SDI. The good thing about reading is that I feel like that the strategies that you're using in your classroom could be easily translated over into a virtual setting. We'll talk about that later. So I do feel like for reading it's a little bit of an advantage, but just make sure the big thing is don't start anything new right now with your kids. Just be consistent as possible and keep everything the same as much as you can. Does anybody have anything so far? This is some examples of SDI, and keep in mind this is not an exhaustive list. These are things that I've picked out. These are kind of my, I guess they're kind of my favorite. I use these the most. I feel like they were most beneficial for my kids. But of course, these are not all the ones that are available. And this link right here, I'm going to show you this in just a second, but this is where these instructional or strategies come from, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But let's move on to the basic reading. So some of these, the first one would be visual strategies, that like word recognition and visual memory. So the big one here is have a picture with a word so that they can associate what that would look like. You could provide the picture for that kid, or if the kid could draw their own picture or come up with their own picture themselves. If they could do that, that would actually be better, in my opinion, just because they would have ownership of that picture and they could make that better association. But if not, you providing that picture would help. It's just a visual that would help them. Instruction in identifying and pronouncing words and reading fluently is, there's 3 different ways to do that. So the first one would be context clues. So you just would show them how to look back in their passage or look back in a sentence for the clues so that they would know. They could go back, and it would help with vocabulary. They would be able to read the word and then also be able to know what that word means in the vocabulary. The other one would be word analysis strategies. This is being able to pick out your prefixes and suffixes and your compound words within words. If they know those prefixes and suffixes, they know how to say them. And then if they know the meaning of those, it helps them understand what the meaning of the word is. And the other one is decoding strategies. This one is when you look at identifying word families inside words. If they can pick those word families out and then just have to add a sound or two, it helps them form those new words. Or chunking, identifying words that they know within a word. And those are some decoding strategies as well. And then in reading comprehension, you have modeling. This one is kind of the example I used earlier about the explicit instruction on how to use graphic organizers. This one, explicit instruction is, I do it, we do it, and you do it. So, and that not just for this, not for the graphic organizers, but for anything that you do, it would be in that sequence. And sometimes with our kids, you may have to do the we do it a lot more. You may have to go back even. So just do that sequence until they can do it by themselves. You do it as many times as you need. Pre-teaching concepts and vocabulary is, this was a good one for your other content areas as well. So like social studies or science, because when they have these concepts and these words that they don't even know what they mean when they're trying to sit in a science class. So if you could get that ahead of time, pre-teach those words to them, and they can know what they mean and the concept behind them, then that front loads that for them. And then when they get into that general curriculum, they will be able to have a better understanding of what's going on when they're exposed to it in the general class. Your think aloud strategy is another one. This one, it gives the kid a step-by-step. You do this by modeling, and it gives them a step-by-step, but you're telling them how to think and what to think about. Because a lot of times they don't know how to even begin their thinking process. So what you do helps them do that. The last one that I have listed here is the strategy instruction, and there's 2 different ones here. One is the learn strategy, and then the KWL. They're set up the same. You would do chart paper and divide it into columns, 1 letter for each column. Learn, it stands for list what you know, explore what you want to know, access your information, reflect on your learning, and now make connections. So as you go through, you would fill that out as you read your passage or reading selection. The KWL is, it's only 3. It's list what you know, list what you want to know, and then at the end you list what you learn. It's set up the same way. In my opinion, the Learn strategy just provides opportunities for higher order thinking, so you can use whichever one you think is best for your kids. All right, so let me show you this link here. This is really awesome. I'm not sure, I don't know how much you guys are aware of, how much experience you have and things like that. So I want to show you this little jewel, and I'll send this PowerPoint out to you, and you can have access to it. So when you click on that link, it takes you to the KDE website, and you scroll down, and these two right here is, this one is your guidance document for writing your IEPs. This one is also very valuable, but we're not writing IEPs today, so I'm not going to go into it, but I just wanted to point out that it's there as well. So when you're writing your IEPs, this will help you. This one is the one I want to show you today. This is your IEP and Lesson Plan Development Handbook. So you click on it, and then mine auto goes here. And I would recommend downloading this to your desktop, and if you can, even make a hard copy to have, because this one, when you're writing your lessons or even doing your instruction for your kids, this is a lifesaver to me. A very good tool to have. So this is the front, this is what it looks like, and I hope I don't make you sick, but I'm going to scroll down really quickly, but it goes through and it describes what each, like explicit instruction, it describes what all these things are. But when we're talking about strategies, you just keep going down. I really don't want to go too fast because I know that makes people sick. Okay, so it starts here, and it starts with communication. This is, and then it goes down to academics is next. Okay, right here. So then it starts with academics. Here's your basic reading, and this is where I got mine from. It has a big list. It has them separated. I'm pointing, like you can see, it has it separated for you. This is your SDI, and this over here are your aids and services that you can use to help deliver those practices. And there's several to choose from. So any of these that you want to try is good. Then it goes on down, and it breaks it up for you. Here's reading comprehension. Have those, and it goes down to math, written expression. It has all of them. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. Okay, so how do we implement SDI generally? So this is talking about your traditional method of what you would normally do. You would do it through, you would do your modeling, scaffolding, and explicit instruction like we'd already talked about. But if you were doing a traditional brick and mortar in the school face-to-face, it would be in a resource room setting. So it would be in a resource room setting with a teacher-led small group instruction or a one-on-one instruction, if you have the opportunity to provide that one-on-one as well. So, and then also in your co-teaching setting. And in this one, what that would look like in a co-teaching classroom would be if you had to be in a teacher station with a small group of kids to come through. And you would be able to have that interaction, that face-to-face interaction with them. And then going into the virtual. So like I said before, with the reading, luckily a lot of what we do, we can do the same practices, it's just delivered a little bit different. So in a virtual setting, you would still do your modeling and explicit instruction and things like that, but instead of doing it with a face-to-face and the small group sitting at a table in your resource room or at a teacher station, then you could do it through a Zoom conference or FaceTime, because, you know, they're with them being able to see you, then you could still go ahead and show them and model and do all those things that you normally would do, but you would just be doing it through Zoom, or Google Classroom, Facebook Messenger, any of that. But as we know, not all of our students have that technology available. So you could use your phone to call or text. If you had to use a phone, you know, of course, you would just talk through the steps with them, you know, and then if they had any questions, just through the phone conversation, or if you wanted to text instructions. And if you have to send instructions by text or email, you know, you want to be very detailed, very explicit, and don't assume any steps. Don't, like, you have to write down every little thing, and that's your explicit instruction for that, you know, for those kids. Videos, if they don't have, again, if you couldn't do a live session with them, you can video yourself modeling a strategy. Then you could send that video by text even, or email, something like that. And then you would be able, you know, be available for questions through texting or messenger or whatever for that. And you could also take picture directions, you know, take still pictures of how to do each step and then send it to them that way. So another example is, because some kids even don't have phone all the time, is a packet example. So for that case, then you would just provide an additional sheet with instructions, or if you're doing vocabulary words, like pre-teaching those, the concepts and vocabulary, you would have the vocabulary words, but then you'd have another sheet that would give that detailed instruction. And then this would also be a good thing to, you know, to add your picture to those vocabulary words. So you would, you know, same strategy, you're just putting it on a sheet of paper and attaching it to your packet. And just follow your district guidelines on how you guys are working to get those packets out to your students. And then your e-learning example, of course, is if you did the small group instruction via Zoom or something like that, or videoing yourself. But the thing to keep in mind is to don't stress yourself out about it, because you guys are working really, really hard. So just have your good faith effort and document your effort. And that's the big one. Hopefully these will kind of help you with some ideas, but that's the main thing, is just your good faith effort. One thing too to keep in mind, especially with special ed, the teachers, you know, we communicate with our parents a lot anyway. So I know that we have that open line of communication. So, and it's especially important at this time to have that open line of communication with our parents, because we have to depend on them to help give them this instruction and the support that the kids need. So, they need that active role. So we want to be able to convey that message to them that they are really important. And then things that you have to consider is, what level of consultation do you have to have with those parents to support them? Because you have to be able to support the parent so that the parent can support the kid. So how much time and support do you need to devote to that parent? And again, just like the students, it's going to be based on an individualized family. Each family is going to be different on what they need. And then also, what are they able to take on? You want to keep that in mind as well, because, these parents, this is all new for them as well. They have, not only are they having to worry about getting these assignments completed, they may have more than one child that they have to monitor. And on top of worrying about if they're fed, or if their heat is going to be, their power is going to be on, and if not, how are they going to keep them safe? So they've got a lot that they are having to deal with as well. So, just keep that in mind. And also just be a support for those parents. Like we said earlier, sometimes the the parents, you know, got to think about their ability to be able to help the child. So you may have to just have a session with just the parent on coaching them a little bit, preview the work with them, give them the answer key so that they can have that available. And sometimes, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this as well, sometimes you just have to kind of lend an ear for those parents to let them vent to you a little bit, because sometimes you don't realize they don't have anybody either. And I think as a special ed teacher, you know, we're actually a big advocate for not only the students, but for those parents as well. So that's a very special role that you can have with your parents. And so does anybody want to share anything that any experiences they've had with their parents?
I'd just like to make a comment, I guess. You know, you were talking about being there for the parents and things. A lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but sometimes the parents of our kids that we work with, if they have a kid that has a physical disability as well as a cognitive disability, you know, they're really focusing on the educational side of it, the academic side of it, and then they're also focusing on the physical side of taking care of that child as well. So, man, it's just going to be a drain on their resources, you know, their physical and mental resources. And so just being that support and just bragging on those parents and say, hey, I'm here if you need to make a phone call, give me a yell, we want to talk about something, you know, just reach out to me, and appreciate all you do for your kid and all the help that you provide me. So just a comment, got brag on the parents. Those folks are doing a tremendous job. And like you said, it's all new to them, just like it is to us. So, yeah, gotta be positive.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Thank you. These are some resources that we're offering. And we have in April, we're doing weekly meetings on Monday. It's for the FMD on Mondays from 2 to 3. Related services is on Tuesday. Your Paraeducator Network is on Wednesdays. And then on Thursdays at 1:30 is weekly meetings like this one. It's academics, and then there's one on behavior. For next week is fractions, and the week after that is behavior. Some what classroom overview of classroom practices or something like that.
Close, yeah. That'll work. Just another quick comment, and I'll let you get back to it. I think one of the things that you stressed really well, and we need to make sure that you know, our teachers know, is make sure that you are documenting all these attempts that you're making of providing specially designed instruction to the students, because just that documentation is what they're going to be looking at. So just document, and that's a very good point on your part.
Thanks. Some resources at the bottom are ones, these are this, I didn't mean to click on that, but it's the our Holler website, but since I clicked on it, I'll just kind of briefly show you. It takes you straight to what we're doing right now to help you guys in this time. So you can scroll down and there's different courses, manipulative videos here to things that you can work from home to show that for your parents, and all these, there's just all kinds of resources here for that. And okay, let me see. And this one is a really good one. It takes you through, it helps you with instructional resources, and and just all kinds of updates and things like that. This one is with that Kentucky ABRE, so it's got some interventions, things that you can work on. And then also down here, these are just all links for resources you can click, and it's just about anything that you need is there. Okay, and that is, that's all I have. I want to thank you guys for your time and coming today. I really appreciate it. And like I said, if you guys need anything at all, don't hesitate to email me. Let me know. I'll be happy to help in any way.